best practices for supplier management for big suppliers, and our big ones were Aerojet, supplying the AJ-26 engines. We would park a couple people at their plant, so we would have a resident at the vendor. There's no substitute for that, I think. And I think you got to pick the right person. They got to be somebody who can ingratiate themselves into the local workforce and can be a trusted person that the vendor will talk to. They can't be adversarial. They need to be smart enough to really understand what's going on and to recognize problems before they happen, and just try to improve the communications and give you feedback on exactly what's happening on any particular day. Be down on the floor. A certain task was supposed to start on a certain day. They can give you feedback that yes, it happened, or no, it didn't, and then that can help you understand, and anticipate problems that are coming up. So I think we spent a lot of time and effort with Aerojet, putting people out there, helping them understand what we expect. So when we're coming up on a delivery or a major review, a CDR or a PDR or something, those residents can really set the stage and give them a preview of what we're going to expect in the meeting. And that can really pave the way towards a successful delivery. Hey, here's the type of information you're going to have to provide. Here's the non-conformance report that you're going to need. This type of information is going to be presented. And we've been successful trying to get ahead of the reviews so we don't have a problem in the actual review that would hold up delivery of that piece of hardware. We also try to stay flexible. If there's, if a part isn't shipping because bolts came in and they're the wrong size or something, and we can get by with stand-ins for a few weeks until the real ones come in, we'll be flexible enough to process paper that allows us to ship short and finish that work up at the launch site. So, we try to not draw a line in the sand and be too rigid, but yet you need that rigidity. So that on everyday operations you get the quality provisions verified as a matter of course and are baked into your processes. But we try to also have mechanisms to, for special situations to use our ability to accept hardware that may not be fully complete if it advances our schedule and we really need it at the launch site. International suppliers. So we talked about selecting the best supplier, and for us, not having a liquid propulsion expertise, we looked around and we had been talking to Yuzhnoye and Yuzhmash of Ukraine. It's a state design office and an associated manufacturing plant, and they're the ones who designed and built the Zenit rocket that flies on sea launch and land launch, and developed a relationship with them over the years, and they gave us a very attractive offer to design and build first stage airframes for us, which is the tanks and the outer structure of the first stage, and leverage their expertise from Zenit to our program. And it was a very good fit for us. And the fact that they were in Ukraine posed certain logistical challenges, but we were determined to treat them the same as any other vendor that's just down the street. And we tried very hard to not let an international boundary prevent us from, doing a visit, doing a review, asking for any information that we thought we needed, explaining to them that, hey, NASA wants this, you need to provide it. We actually invited NASA to come over to Ukraine on several trips, and they came with us to see the harbor, see the factory. I think it really helps to promote communication, especially across a language barrier, to be face-to-face. And in the situation of the first stage core, we were able to hire Dan Van Hooley, who was the resident for sea launch at this same plant, and so we were able to hire him back into that same role again, and he was willing to move there back to Ukraine, and they already knew him. All the personnel at Yuzhnoye and Yuzhmash knew him very well from the sea launch days, and he was back in that same role of monitoring the development and the production flow for us. And I think that was very successful, and it really gave us a leg up to have his expertise applied to the program. Facilitated communication back and forth, helped us with any cultural misunderstandings, helped them to understand what we needed in working from NASA, and what NASA would expect from a supplier in terms of qualification data and so on. And it was very successful. And we actually then brought the Ukrainians over to Wallops Again, you might be initially put off. How are you going to have foreign nationals on a NASA center helping build your rocket? But we're determined. NASA worked very well with us. Their security office, we were able to get their information input into their security system. We hired a logistics company, Tech Trans International. They do a lot of the space station logistics and interpretation work for NASA, both in, as I understand it, in Moscow and also in Houston for when Russians come to Houston. So they had a very experienced set of knowledge. They would pick them up at Dulles Airport, drive them to Wallops. They would handle all the visa processing. And another thing they brought to bear was a lot of development on the interpretation front. It's not just enough to translate words when you're talking about a technical, something as complicated as a rocket. You need to get the right word, not just the translated word. And so, a valve, translating the word for valve, may not mean the right thing in Russian, which is the language that the Ukrainians use. So they were able to develop a dictionary that was then pushed down to all the interpreters, and Yuzhnoye agreed that this was the right set of verbiage to use. And so that was one of those key things that it was a lesson learned from prior projects that we were able to apply by hiring these folks with that experience and bringing it in-house. And I think it's been very successful. They've done nothing but perform for us. They've delivered on time. All their hardware has worked, and so they've been a great supplier for us.